This is the Diamond Hogs Podcast with Mason Choate and Robert Stewart.
Welcome to the Diamond Hogs Podcast. I am your host, Mason Choate, joined by Robert Stewart. I'm back. I had a break, and we're both Zooming this time. We're not in studio because Robert is back home in Virginia. Gross. I'm in Arkansas in Fayetteville. I missed a series that it seems like against Kentucky. Kentucky just wasn't good. Is that kind of what it was? Or, I mean, Arkansas was hot at the plate. I know Braden Webb is hot at the plate. I missed a lot. Robert, you take it away because you were there.
Yeah. I don't know if it's fair to say that Kentucky wasn't good. I think they didn't play well. A lot of the guys we heard from in the post-game pressers, they really hit on, we're playing pretty good baseball right now. This Kentucky team, they were hot hitting. Chase Estep, the two-hitter, the third baseman, was hitting probably 470 going into the series, and they had a handful of other guys over 300. So it was a pretty talented Kentucky lineup, but you have to consider that the Kentucky pitchers weren't all that outstanding. The Razorback pitchers, in contrast, were. I mean, you had three quality starts. I think they threw probably 18 and a third innings and gave up Wiggins didn't give up any. Nolan gave up 1, 2, and Smith gave up 3. So it was a great weekend for the Razorback pitchers, and they played clean defense. Defense was the difference too. There were, I think the Wildcats made 7 errors in total. The Hogs scored 4 unearned runs Friday night. That was the difference in the game. It was a tough weekend for the Wildcats, and the Hogs have won 11 in a row. So 11 in a row. So they're hot. And one of the things Dave Van Horn said after Sunday's game is, we're not playing, outstanding or anything. We're just playing solid ball, and they're collecting wins. And, they don't have to be playing outstanding. They're just that good to do that.
Well, we will get more into that and kind of what Dave Van Horn said this week as well. But before we do, I want to remind everybody the Diamond Hogs Podcast is available on the Hit That Line Podcast Network. Some of you are probably listening to us on the Hit That Line Podcast Network. So congratulations on finding it. If you need help finding it, just go to hitthatline.com or wherever you get your podcast. Just type in Hit That Line and you will find the Diamond Hogs Podcast. You can find a lot of other listening needs over there. If you're a big ESPN Arkansas fan, you listen to their shows and you miss one, you can go listen to the podcast version of their shows at hitthatline.com. Check out Robert's baseball recaps at hitthatline.com. And we're also available on HawgBeat.com. I've said it before. I'll continue to say it. Nobody does coverage of Arkansas athletics better than HawgBeat.com. So go see HawgBeat. Subscribe to HawgBeat. It's well worth your money. If you're a student, you get a great deal. It's like $11.95 for a year. So go email Andrew Hutchinson. It's Andrew Hutchinson 413 at gmail.com. If you're a student, just email him from your EDU account and go check out all of the great stuff over at HawgBeat.com. Arkansas basketball coverage. Hopefully by the time this podcast comes out, the Arkansas basketball team will be ready to go to the Elite Eight. Maybe. They play Gonzaga on Thursday. We're recording this on Wednesday, actually, because conflicting schedules. But hopefully the Razorback basketball team is still in the tournament. And if they're not, then you'll find the recap of the game at HawgBeat.com. Either way, you'll find the recap of the game at HawgBeat.com. So go check it out. And we're also on the HawgBeat YouTube. That's where you can watch the video version of the podcast. Robert, wave for them. You always do that. There you go. Okay. So, yeah. And we have a new sponsor alert, Robert. So it is no longer the First Seat. We're very thankful for the First Seat. I actually went there for my birthday. Great place. I highly recommend it. Even though they're not sponsoring us currently, I still want to recommend you go to the First Seat. And we are now sponsored by Barley and Vine, same owners of the First Seat. So you know that it's going to be the same great quality over at Barley and Vine. It's also in Bentonville. They're located at 113 West Central Avenue, suite number 103 in downtown Bentonville. They're a craft beer tap room and wine bar. They have 32 beers on tap with several more in cans and bottles. They have a wide array of wine selections of reds, whites, and sparkling. They also offer several by the glass and have even more by the bottle. It's a perfect place for a chill vibe, playing shuffleboard or darts or watching the big game. So if the Razorback basketball team is still in the tournament, go to Barley and Vine. If they're not, go to Barley and Vine and watch the Razorback baseball game because they play Missouri this weekend. So, Robert, are you a wine guy?
I'm working on it. Now that I'm 21, of course, I will have more chances to engage with some different wines, but not really a big wine guy yet.
Yes, this is officially the first episode of the Diamond Hogs podcast where both Robert and myself are legally 21. Yeah. I didn't know
We were illegally 21 before.
Well, I didn't know how to say that because I didn't want to say like legally allowed to drink because then that implies that we illegally drink. And I don't want to say that we illegally did anything on air, you know?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. But anyways, go see Barley and Vine. Very, very thankful for them. And they have a great place up there. Like I said, I went to the first seat. I have not been to Barley and Vine yet, but now that they're a sponsor, I feel like I'm required to go. Whenever you get back in town, we'll go, Robert.
Sounds
We need
good.
to get like a group of Diamond Hogs podcast subscribers to start. Like, we need to set up like a day of the week where it's like, hey, if you like the Diamond Hogs podcast, show up this day and we'll chat and talk Razorback baseball at Barley and Vine.
I'm game. Sounds great.
Okay. On today's episode, there's not a whole lot to talk about because there was not a midweek. The game against Omaha got canceled in Kansas City. I feel like if it was a better opponent, they probably would not have canceled it. But it was Omaha, and it was going to be cold, possible rain. It's just like, all right, let's go ahead and cancel. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, they've played the Mavericks already this year. They are aware that Omaha is not really a good baseball team. I mean, they scored 15 runs in that one game that Mark Adamiak started, and the Mavericks made 5 errors. I think it was a pretty sad display of baseball. And Big League Park game gets canceled. Yeah, it kind of sucks, but I think Arkansas has played in enough bad weather this year that it was not worth making that trip a couple days early. It's spring break. Let the guys rest, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Plus, I mean, you're in SEC play now. You just finished a series against Kentucky. It was like a long week and a half stretch there because you had 4 games against UIC after you'd already played a midweek, and then you play 2 midweeks against Grambling, and then you play 3 against Kentucky. So I think it's probably better for them to not have to play against Omaha. I mean, the guys probably wanted to play in a big league park, play at Kauffman, but now they get to go play Missouri and Columbia, which, by the way, on my trip when I was not on the Diamond Hogs podcast, Pete D'Alessandro was on the Diamond Hogs podcast. For those of you who said Pete's better than me and he's the better ginger, you can just shut up because I'm the better ginger. No offense, Pete. I love my guy, Pete. He's my guy, but I'm the better ginger. This is my show. Robert, you said that it was your show for the day. I heard that, but it's now my show again. It's our show technically, but I'm the host. I don't know.
You're the broadcast guy. I respect it. It's your show.
Okay. I didn't know if I sounded like a jerk or anything right there. Where was I at?
You didn't know if what?
I didn't know if I sounded like a jerk by saying it's my show.
No, you're good.
Okay. Anyways, I was in Columbia over the weekend, and I gotta say, it's a crappy town. I was on campus too. It's just crap. Nothing good about Columbia. No offense to our buddy Shane Palma, host of the fantasy, what is it?
Fantasy Football Laboratory.
Fantasy Football Laboratory. No offense to Shane Palma, but Columbia crap. University of Missouri crap. I mean, from the SEC campuses that I've been to, which is Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, I think that's it actually. Arkansas is by far the best of all of those.
We're not affiliated with the University of Arkansas, though.
No, we're not. Is there a lag, Robert? You're talking later. You don't know what to say.
There was a bit of a delay there. I left a little bit of a gap. I wasn't sure if you were inviting me to talk there, but we're good. Yeah, we were talking about potentially going to making this Missouri trip, right, to Kauffman today, what should have been today, and then to Columbia for the weekend. And based on your experience last week, I guess I'm glad we're not going.
Yeah, I sent Robert a text and I was like, "Hey, we made the right decision not going to Columbia, and we've been thinking about possibly going to Gainesville for the Florida series. I don't know if I want to do that either. I feel like
That's
Gainesville,
too far.
yeah. So, anyways, so Arkansas plays Missouri, and you look at this Missouri team. They're 12-4 on the season, 12-5 on the season, and they got swept by Vandy opening weekend of SEC play. And you just look up and down the schedule. They haven't played anybody. I mean, they played Arizona State on a Sunday and beat them, but I don't know. Is Arizona State a good baseball program? To be honest, I have no clue.
I feel like they were maybe in the tournament last year. So they've got that on Missouri, I guess. But like you said, there's no one really of note that Missouri played before they ran into Vanderbilt last week. And I think Pete and I talked about this last week. It was like 28-6 or something crazy like that on the weekend. Vandy put up a lot of runs, and Missouri did not. Speaking of Vandy, did you see their rebrand?
I know it's disgusting.
I
I mean, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, dude. It's like the
Yeah,
forward-facing hog for Arkansas. Why? I don't get
yeah.
it.
There's no need.
Anyways,
Anyway,
I did see that. And it sucks for Vandy. It sucks for Vandy fans because like, why? It's just gross.
maybe that's punishment for the Whistler.
Yeah, it is probably. That's probably what they were thinking, Robert. They're like, we're gonna rebrand because of the Vandy Whistler. That's the dumbest thing you've ever said on this show, Robert. Are you serious?
I guess. I
It's
don't know.
that's like up there with you asking Dave Van Horn if Cole Ramage sucks.
All right, who should I ask him to rag on next?
Well, you can't do Braden Webb anymore because Braden Webb's apparently hitting the baseball now.
Caden
I
Wallace. Caden Wallace went 1 for 14 or something like that. I'll ask him about Caden Wallace next.
wow. I heard a rumor. I don't know if this is true. I heard a rumor that Kaden Wallace has a wrist injury.
Really.
I actually have a contact I could text about that. I'm going to text him right now.
I
You
mean,
take go ahead.
that would make sense
Yeah.
because he he didn't look like he was swinging it very well. I guess we'll see what happens on Friday. Might be worth asking Dave if his slump continues because Pete and I talked about this. There's no reason to criticize Wallace for going 1 for 14 opening weekend. Like he started the season so hot. He earned that move into the leadoff position. He's allowed to struggle. He's allowed to have a bad series. It's fine.
It's
But
baseball.
if it continues, then you'll start to wonder.
Yeah. I mean, it's baseball. It's just how it goes. Speaking of injuries, though, we did hear. So we thought that Jace Borfin was going to be good to go against Missouri this weekend. Same with probably Isaac Bracken. Both of them not expected to play against Missouri. So we know that Borfin ran into the fence, hurt his shoulder. Luckily, didn't tear anything, just some bruising. He said he's on track. He looks good, but he doesn't want to play him. And you don't really need to when you got the guys in the outfield playing like they are.
Right. The original timetable was 2 to 3 weeks on Jace Borfin, right? So we're in there. It's getting close. That was what Dave said, is that he's pretty close, but doesn't know for sure if he's going to make the 27-man roster or whatever it is that I guess they're allowed to dress 27 guys in every SEC weekend. And then I wasn't aware of Bracken's injury. I must have missed that last week.
I
But
wasn't aware of it either. I don't think that they officially came out and said Bracken was hurt. I think it was during the Southeastern Louisiana series. He pulled his groin or something. Van Horn said it was a groin injury after the Grambling series.
okay.
And that's all that I have been able to dig up.
Gotcha. Yeah, I missed both of those press conferences, so that makes sense.
Why'd you miss those press conferences, Robert? Huh?
What? Why?
Why? Yeah.
Well, conversation for another day. But where was I going? Oh, the bullpen. The bullpen. I mean, I think you're fine without Isaac Bracken. You talked about being fine without Jace Borfin right now. They are even more so with Bracken because the starters gave them so much depth or gave them so many innings last week that you barely had to use anybody out of the bullpen. And the guys that did come out of the bullpen, I mean, Evan Taylor got 2 different outings. Zebulon Vermillion threw three innings in a row. So you didn't have to stress the bullpen too much either last week. So bullpen has got plenty of arms, and they should be well rested for this week against Missouri.
All right, before we get into our full preview of the Missouri Tigers, I want to remind you we are brought to you by Barley and Vine in Bentonville, Arkansas. New sponsor, very excited to have them, and they're a great place to go if you want to just hang out, have a drink with your friends. I feel more comfortable doing an ad read for a bar now that we're both 21. It felt a little weird, but we're both legally allowed to go to Barley and Vine and have a drink, which is what we're probably going to do whenever you get back to the greatest state in the history of the United States.
It's a little like Chris Lanzilli being an alcohol security supervisor at Fenway Park.
I know that was a very interesting thing. I would not have guessed that was something that Chris Lanzilli did.
Right.
But anyways, Barley and Vine, they're located at 113 West Central Avenue, Suite 103 in downtown Bentonville. It's a perfect place to play shuffleboard, play darts, watch a game. They have a ton of beers on tap, 32 to be exact, and they have more in cans and bottles if you're not the tap kind of person. They also got wine if you're trying to go chill with your friends, have some wine. Robert said he's into wine now. You can go to Barley and Vine and go check them out in Bentonville. Very thankful for their sponsorship. Let me see. Do they have a phone number? I didn't pull up their phone number. Yeah, 479-268-4806. Give them a call if you want to go check them out. It's always safe to call ahead, see if they're busy, make sure you can have a place to sit. So go see them.
Maybe next week we'll have a glass of wine and play shuffleboard. Sounds good.
I don't think I'm a wine guy, Robert.
Have a beer and play shuffleboard with me. I want to play shuffleboard. That sounds awesome.
Okay, we can do that. We can play darts too. I feel like I'm low-key really good at darts, but I can't tell if I'm doing it wrong, if I'm like too close to the board or something.
Only one way to find out.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll find out at Barley and Vine, and very thankful for them. Okay. Missouri, like I said, they're 12-5, and they got swept by Vandy last weekend. So I'll just tell you the scores. I'll tell you the scores real quick. Friday, they lost 15-2, Saturday, 6-0, Sunday, 7-4. Now, these were all at Vanderbilt, which means nothing because they play in a freaking high school ballpark. As a powerhouse, they play in a high school ballpark. And so the home field advantage means nothing for Vanderbilt. But I mean, Vanderbilt's better than Missouri. You look at Missouri, they only had 3 hits on Saturday, 2 of which came from a guy named Juju Stevens, their left fielder. And that's just a terrible showing. And then if you just look at, that was Saturday's game.
Vandy is a top 5 team this year, right?
Yeah. They were number 4 last week. And I'm assuming they're still number 4 because the top 3 is Ole Miss, Texas, Arkansas. Yeah, this is D1 baseball, which is what I guess is the official ranking. College baseball rankings is the dumbest thing ever.
They are.
So yeah, Missouri. Robert, tell us about the pitching. They do have a couple guys who are pretty good. I know they have the starter, Austin Tresser.
I would guess Tresser. Unfortunately, Missouri does not have the wonderful ear icon that plays you the pronunciation like Kentucky did last week, but we'll start from the top. Spencer Miles is the guy who pitched on Friday. He is a righty. Wears number 8. It's an interesting thing to me. I always find it weird when pitchers wear single digits. Anyway, you said the score was 15-2 on Friday, right? It was pretty ugly here because Spencer Miles gave up 7 earned runs, 7 hits, and walked 4 in 3 innings in that Friday game. So his ERA skyrocketed from 1.88 to 5.19. So he was having a pretty good year before that Vanderbilt game.
Against terrible opponents, as we mentioned.
Yeah, let's see. Nichols, Louisiana, Monroe, and Tarleton State. So
that's worse.
I feel like
conference.
What's that?
That's worse than Arkansas's non-conference.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You got to think that the Razorbacks offensively will be a lot closer to the Commodores than those first 3 opponents. And then the guy you mentioned, Austin Tresser, one of 2 Austins on the pitching staff and one of 3 Austins on the team. You'd think this is the Longhorns, the number of Austins they have. He's pitched in 5 games. He threw 2 innings, only 2 innings against Vanderbilt. I wonder what happened there. He didn't give up any runs, walked 2, struck out 2, gave up a hit. Don't know what's going on with the short outing, but
Was that the
maybe
Saturday game?
yeah,
It was.
maybe he got hurt.
If he got hurt, that's not good because he seems to be their guy.
Yeah, I mean his ERA has gone down every game. It started at 4.5. It's sitting at 2.21. Won his first 3 decisions. He's 3-0. So yeah, don't really know what's going on there, but it looks like he's pitched each of the Saturdays, all 5 Saturdays that there have been in the college baseball season so far. But yeah, Missouri's probably screwed if that guy is not going to throw on Saturday. And then Sunday, this dude is absolutely huge. It's another Austin Morozis, I believe is his name. He's like 6'8", 230, and his ERA is almost as big as he is, 5.4. So,
Wow.
let's see, 3 1/3 innings against Vanderbilt on Sunday. Gave up 6 hits and a walk, 3 earned runs, 5 strikeouts. I mean, they didn't have a guy get through the 4th inning against Vanderbilt last week.
No.
So
I look at their pitching staff, and the name that pops out to me is Nathan Landry coming out of the bullpen. You see this guy, number 35?
let me pull him up.
He's a junior lefty from Quebec, Canada. Is it Quebec?
I think that's probably an Americanized pronunciation. If you want to be authentic, it's probably Quebec.
Quebec. Okay. Well, Nathan Landry, he's got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 appearances. He did throw 2 2/3 against Vandy, gave up 3 hits, 3 earned runs, struck out 4. Did have a big game against Southern University on February 23rd, had 10 strikeouts. And that's probably why he leads the team with 25 strikeouts. But he seems to be one of their better guys out of the pen. He gives me a feel of he's going to be one of those dudes that's like an average pitcher, and he's just going to mow down the Arkansas lineup.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. I mean, we saw it with one guy from Kentucky this weekend. I don't have my scorebook in front of me, but I'm pretty sure it was the Friday night game. They chased either the starter or the second reliever, and this dude for the Wildcats comes on and strikes out 6 Razorbacks over 2 innings, and he only faced 6 batters. So the Razorbacks are susceptible to that kind of player.
Yeah.
Did this guy Landry throw against Vanderbilt?
Yeah, I said he did. He threw
on
Sunday. He threw 2 2/3, 3 hits, 3 earned. He was the first guy out of the pen on Sunday. He struck out 4. Sorry, he struck out 4. But that's pretty rough to have your first 2 guys on the mound on a Sunday give up 6 earned runs combined.
In what? Not even 5 innings?
Let's see.
Not even 6?
It was in 6 exactly, I think. Yes, exactly 6 innings.
Yeah, and I feel like these Tigers are probably not the best hitting team either. I mean, they may have. I haven't looked at their offensive statistics yet. I'm working on that now, but I mean, you got to figure if they're good, they're probably inflated by all of the poor teams they've played to date, right?
Yeah. You look at it at the lineup, Torrin Montgomery, infielder junior from Kirkland, Washington. He leads the team with a 364 batting average, but I mean, this is a guy, and it's a team that's not hitting for power. We heard that from Dave Van Horn. Josh Day leads them with 5 home runs. But Montgomery's got 14 RBI. That's a team high. He's got 20 hits, which is not a team high. Ty Wilmsmeyer, he's got 22. That's the team high. He's hitting 361. So, I mean, like, they got 4 guys hitting over 300, but then once
3 over 350.
Yeah, 3 over 350. But once you get past those 4 guys hitting over 300, it's like a major drop off.
Two sixty is the fifth highest batting. I mean, 260 and 323. That's a huge difference.
It is. It does. I mean, like if you just look at it on paper, it doesn't look like that much, but it is. Hold on. I gotta see this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they have 8 regular starters, and then it seems like they're just like plugging a guy in for the 9th spot.
Yeah.
Because let's see, they only have 1, 2, 3 guys, 4 guys who have started all 17 games. Wait, have they played 17? Yeah, they're 12-5. And then Montgomery has started in 16 of the 16 games he's appeared in. But I don't know. This is a weird lineup. They seem to be like really shuffling around a lot.
Yeah, it does. And I feel like that's just not a recipe for success against 3 guys who have 3 quality starts in 5 appearances in Connor Nolan, Hagen Smith, and Jackson Wiggins, who, as expected, will be the 3 starters again this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, talk about really freaking good starting pitchers. Normally, Arkansas will have a Friday and a Saturday guy that you can trust. In like the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, you've trusted your Friday guy for sure. You've trusted, I mean, you're talking guys like Blaine Knight, Isaiah Campbell, Patrick Wicklander. You're trusting them. And you trust Connor Nolan right now. But it was always kind of up in the air about the Saturday guy and then the Sunday guy. Sometimes it was just like a pitcher by committee type thing. Like you're going to start one guy, but it's going to be a bullpen type day. And now it's like you have 3 guys that you can trust and 3 guys that are, you're going to get good quality innings from them. Aside the only one, no, there's been 2. It was Stanford for Hagen Smith and then Jackson Wiggins against Southeastern Louisiana or UIC. It was one of those 2.
Not sure, but yeah, one of the last few non-conference games. But yeah, I mean, they've just been solid all year. Like Hagen Smith, the praise that we've heard from Van Horn and the players it's hard to ignore, right? Like 18 throws like he's 22. We hear that all the time. Chris Lanzilli was on the show last week. He said he was the hardest pitcher to face, even though he's 5 years older than Smith is. That's I mean, you got to respect that. And then Wiggins, we've heard all year about how he's just a lot more confident. Like we heard from Van Horn Wednesday afternoon. He doesn't get rattled. That it's in his DNA or something like that, right?
That's exactly what he said.
Yeah. So Jackson Wiggins is a whole lot more confident with his expanded arsenal of pitches this year, and I mean it shows. It totally does. And I asked Brady Tiger after Sunday's game about what is it like when your starters are going out there and giving you so many quality innings, and his answer was it's huge. The bullpen guys need that rest, and Tiger, he threw 2 really strong innings Sunday to sweep Kentucky, and I imagine the energy that the starters brought and the rest that the pressure that the bullpen guys didn't have to deal with was a big part of why he was so successful.
Yeah. I'm looking at it. Wiggins, his one bad outing was on Sunday against UIC. He went 3 1/3, gave up 1 hit, but 5 earned runs. You remember that one?
Yes, that was when I asked the Ramage question.
Ah, yes. It's impossible to forget that day where Robert was just an absolute idiot.
Because he didn't give up 5 when he left the game, but I think he walked so many guys and then Ramage came in and gave up hits. And
yeah,
yes, Dave Van Horn made a good point. There were calls weren't going his way. He didn't look bad. He wasn't gonna rag on Ramage that day.
I just want to say that I don't actually think Robert's an idiot. We're friends. I can say that. Robert is actually probably significantly smarter of a person than I am. So just want to throw that out there for all those people who might think that I hate Robert.
I hope Dave Van Horn thinks that too, but he probably doesn't.
Dave Van Horn probably looks at you and he's like, "Oh, this guy again. I hate this guy. He always asks those questions that I just want to punch him in the throat." You think Dave Van Horn would punch you in the throat?
He just doesn't seem like the type of guy to punch anybody in the throat.
I don't know. He's probably been in some fights in his day.
I was wondering if we were going to see that with Tony Vitello last year, but
Dude, yes. Maybe if they dude, what if it was Arkansas, Tennessee in a super regional? That would be sick.
that would be amazing.
Okay, what else do we need to talk about? Oh, I know. I wanted to talk about Zebulon Vermillion. I mean, friend of the Diamond Hawks podcast, best known for his appearance on the Diamond Hawks podcast.
Right.
That's what people say, not us. People say he's best known for that. Did really well against Kentucky. I wasn't able to watch. Robert, I mean, was it that impressive, or was it kind of like Kentucky was just like laying down and they were done?
It was impressive. I want to say did he strike out 5? I don't have the stats in front of me, but I feel like he had a really good day. I know for a fact that he faced 10 batters, walked the first guy, and then sat the next 9 guys down in order to get a 9-out save.
He had
So
5
that
strikes.
was huge. Yeah, 5 Ks. He had it working. He really did. And Pete explained this a lot. Pete, he just understands pitching on a completely different level than I did. So if you go back and listen to the last episode, somewhere in there, Pete really explains why things were going well for Zeb. But yeah, that was a big outing for him. And as we've talked about it the last couple episodes, Vermillion is having a really good season. He's yet to give up an earned run, and I think he needs a lot more credit for the job that he's done out of the pen this year. And you're certainly starting to see that from Dave Van Horn. We heard in the press conference that he wants to, he basically wants to use him as much as he can, because he has been a starter before. We saw last year, I think, the end of non-conference, beginning of conference play, strung together back-to-back outings of 8 innings. So we know that he has the longevity, and I mean, he is a really good option for middle to long relief if Noland or Smith or Wiggins falters for any reason in whatever start. And if one of them gets hurt too, he's probably a great option for a spot start.
And Dave Van Horn, that's exactly what he said. Spot start, or he could be that guy that they go to. I mean, really, he's just a jack of all trades. You can use him whenever you need to. And that's kind of been his thing throughout his career, is there's never really been consistency of what role you're going to see Vermillion in. It's just kind of been like, we're going to throw him whenever. And I feel like I remember him saying on our podcast that he doesn't care. Like, we asked him, hey, you started last year a little bit. Now you're focusing more on being a reliever. What do you prefer? And he was like, I don't really care. I just want to go throw. That's not an exact quote. I feel like that's kind of what he said, though. Go back and listen to that episode. That's our number 2 rated episode right now.
Nice. Yeah, he was like, I just want to do what I can to help the ball club win. Is that cliche as heck? Yes. But I mean, he shows it on the mound. So
he does. Okay. And then just an update on the Razorback batting order, how that's going. So you got 3 guys hitting over 300. Who would have guessed Peyton Stovall hitting over 300? One of them. Michael Turner hitting 369. Nice. I mean, who better to be hitting 369 than Michael Turner?
The first guest on the Diamond Hogs podcast.
Friend of the program. And another friend of the program, Chris Lanzilli. He's hitting 364. Slamzilli, dude. He's on fire.
The 2 position players that have been on our show are both hitting above 360. Coincidence?
I think not. And Zebulon Vermillion was on the show. So
hasn't given up an earned run?
Has not. We might have something going. I didn't even think about that. Who else have we had on the show? We've had former players, so we got to see how Opitz does in the minors.
And
Wicklander, Kevin Bohannon. I bet he's doing really great at his job.
Probably.
And Hutchinson. I mean, Rivals is great. Who else? Have we had somebody else on the show?
I feel like we have.
I'd have to look back. We're like terrible hosts. Pete? Yeah.
He's got a new job. 2 new jobs.
Pete texted me today and he was like, hey man, I'm applying for jobs. I need some help. And he was like, I feel good about things. I just want to ask some questions. And so I think Pete's doing really well too.
We're really elevating everyone who comes on the show.
I know. And then, I mean, like the show itself is doing well. There's something to be said about that. Next time we try to get a player on, we got to be like, hey, these are the guys we've had on. We've had on Michael Turner. We've had on Chris Lanzilli. We've had on Zebulon Vermillion. Their stats speak for themselves. You make the decision.
I'll put that in my next email to Oliver.
Oliver, by the way, this is what happens when they come on our show. So if you want the team to have success, I guess we just need to have Dave Van Horn on. If we have Dave Van Horn on, then the whole team's going to do great.
They probably won't lose another game.
Anyways, we're wasting time, I guess, but who cares? There's nothing to talk about because there wasn't a midweek.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Kaden Wallace is in a slump. He dropped below 300, but he'll be back. Don't worry about that. Like you said, Peyton Stovall swinging it really well out of the 2-hole. Sunday had a double-digit game hit streak. I'm not sure of the exact count, but maybe 12 games that came to an end. So, like you said, he after a tough start to the year for him, he's now hitting over 300. 345 is what Turner, Lanzilli, and Robert Moore. All three guys had really good weekends against Kentucky. So the heart of your order is doing exactly what it needs to be. Let's see who else. Brady Slavens, man, he's struggling.
Yeah. What I'm focusing on is Zach Gregory no longer leads the team in runs. So
well, I think it has to do with the fact that he didn't play either midweek game.
That doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter as far as like the stats go, but he's got 20 runs. Wallace leads the team with 22.
He'll get back up there before too long. Don't worry about
it. He leads the team in on base percentage, 469. Nice. Wait, no, I lied. Lanzilli has 481. He leads the team.
You know why? You know why Zach Gregory doesn't lead the team?
Because he didn't come on the podcast. Dang it, Zach. We're just trying to help you, man. Oh man, that sucks for him. He said later.
Doesn't it?
He said later.
Yeah, he'll come on later.
If he
he'll find his way to the top.
Yeah, if he gets in a slump, then we'll just be like, hey man, we know exactly what the medicine you need is.
And then he and Lanzilli will be dying to come on the show just to lead the team in on base percentage.
Yeah. We'll just go week after week, and they'll just like go back and forth of who leads the team in on base percentage.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get to Andrew Hutchinson. Before we do, though, I want to remind you, Barley and Vine. We are brought to you by Barley and Vine, and they're located at 113 West Central Avenue, Suite 103 in downtown Bentonville. They're a craft beer tap room and wine bar, and they have 32 beers on tap with several more in cans and bottles. They offer wine, a wide array of it, red, white, sparkling, and they sell it by the glass, and they have more in the bottle, and it's just the perfect place, man, for a chill vibe. Robert, you said you want to play shuffleboard. I want to play darts, and we definitely both want to watch the big game, whatever the big game is at the time. And so you should want to do that as well. Go see Barley and Vine in downtown Bentonville. It will be worth your time. You'll have a great time. You get to do whatever you want, hang out with your friends, watch the game, and have a nice drink. So go see them or call them. Let me pull the phone number. It is 479-268-4806. And now we are going to get to the man, the myth, the legend, Andrew Hutchinson.
The Diamond Hogs podcast is the premier Razorback Baseball podcast.
All right, I now welcome on Andrew Hutchinson of HawgBeat.com. No Robert Stewart for this because he just does not care about his job, doesn't care about the podcast. So it's just myself and Hutch this time. Hutch, I'm happy that you're here. You're the best in the business, is what we say on the podcast. You cover Arkansas baseball better than anybody. So congratulations on that. And so we're going to talk some Missouri, but I also kind of wanted to have you on for kind of a welfare check for Arkansas baseball. So like we've gone through non-con, and now we're 1 week into SEC play. So we kind of have a feel of how the team's looking better than we did 2 weeks into the season where everybody was freaking out. So right now, just how do you feel about the team? Maybe you could give like a grade, like they're B+ right now or something like that.
Well, as the team as a whole, I mean, I think they're very solid. I'm not sure what kind of grade. I mean, B plus. I mean, sounds kind of fair. But you have to also kind of break it down as, how do I feel about their pitching right now? I'd give them an A, borderline A plus. I mean, that's been probably the biggest surprise of the season so far, is just how well they've done on the mound, because that was a major question mark, and that's actually something I'm writing right now for HawgBeat.com, is just kind of the starting pitching. I mean, Connor Nolan, Hagen Smith, and Jackson Wiggins have far exceeded my expectations. But on the flip side of that, the bats have not quite produced like we thought they would. I mean, they got off to a miserable start. There's no getting around it. They were hitting about 200 2 or 3 weeks into the season, and that's just not good, especially when you consider that they weren't playing like top 10 teams every game. I mean, they had the one game against Stanford, but other than that, I mean, it was a bunch of okay opponents. So they have started to swing it better. They did score some runs in the Kentucky series. That was really good to see. But it's still not quite what we really fully expected from the offense as a whole. So, I mean, I would probably give the offense a C when grading on the fact that they should have been a lot better. And then defensively, I think you got to give them an A for sure. I mean, the defense, I think perhaps more than ever, the defense was more on display against Kentucky just because Kentucky was so bad in the field. I mean, they committed, I want to say, 7 errors, and really some scoring decisions could have gone the other way. And that's not me taking a shot at Oliver Gregg in the slightest. I think he does a fine job as the scorekeeper at Arkansas, but there were some tough plays that Arkansas probably would have made that Kentucky didn't. And so I think that kind of shows you how blessed Arkansas is and how good it is for them to have the defense that they have on the field. It probably gets overlooked, compared to say the bats and the arms. But the gloves have been fantastic. So, I mean, I think you factor in the 2 A's and the C. I think a B plus is totally a fair grade for this team through the first weekend of SEC play.
So, looking at individual performances, do you have a guy that you look at and you say, this has been the MVP so far? A guy at the plate and a guy on the mound. It's kind of hard because all 3 of the starting pitchers have been great. So maybe don't do the starting pitchers, maybe do a reliever who's been your MVP and then a batter who's been your MVP.
Ooh, that's tough because, I mean, they've had some guys really step up, but it's hard to ignore what Zebulon Vermillion has done out of the bullpen for Arkansas. I don't have the numbers up in front of me, but I don't think he's allowed a hit in 9 innings, something like that. He's been really good, and that was not something I expected to see because he struggled during the fall based on what I remember. He struggled last year. He started off, had a couple of really good starts, and he ended up having to move to the bullpen. So that was, a little bit, disappointing to see last year, but he's really come on strong. Let's see here. I've got the stats. Yep. No hits in 9 innings, 13 strikeouts. He has walked some guys. He has 6 walks in 9 innings, which isn't ideal. But you can't ignore the no hits allowed. So I think he's been kind of like the surprise, I would say, out of the bullpen. Another guy I want to mention is Brady Tiger. I know you're working on a story on him for HawgBeat, but he's a true freshman. And not only is he, he's got a solid, 2.35 ERA and 7 2/3 innings, but that's not what's most impressive. It's the fact that he has been put in the game. He's got 5 appearances, and I want to say 3, maybe 4 of them were in really high leverage end of game situations where Arkansas was clinging to a lead or it was tied when he came in late in the game. And he got the job done. He earned a win. He has a couple of saves. So he's been really good. As far as offensively, man, the transfers have really delivered. I mean, obviously, Jace Borfin is hurt right now. He got off to a horrible start, but was starting to really swing the bats before he got hurt. But look at the other 2 guys. I mean, Michael Turner and Chris Lanzilli are both hitting over 360. Turner leads the team with 4 home runs. He's got 20 RBIs. Those 2 guys have just done nothing but hit, and Turner's doing it while playing catcher. Yeah, he's had a couple of starts at first. I think he started a game at DH, but for the most part, he's been Arkansas's catcher. And typically, I mean, Casey Opitz had some really clutch at bats. Grant Cook had some, really clutch hits as well. But neither one of those guys, they were in there for their defense. They didn't have super high batting averages. And who knows, Michael Turner probably not going to hit 360 the whole year. Be fantastic if he does. But for him to be doing that offensively so far, through, again, the first 5 weeks of the season has been just a really, really good development for Arkansas. And Chris Lanzilli as well, hitting the way he has, playing the outfield, also DHing some. Those two guys are probably the MVPs through the first 5 weeks.
Now, I just want to mention that all three of those guys that you said, Michael Turner, Chris Lanzilli, and Zebulon Vermillion, they have all been on the Diamond Hogs podcast. So I think there's a trend there of if you come on the Diamond Hogs podcast, you're going to have a lot of success on the field.
You need to start having like Brady Slavens on the podcast or something. Get him going.
Yeah, Brett, we talked about Brady Slavens and Braden Webb. Maybe we need to have them on. I mean, last week we talked about Braden Webb and we were like, this dude's got to step it up. We talked about guys who have been disappointing. And it is curious because we talked about Peyton Stovall and we talked about Brady Slavens before the UIC series, I believe. And I believe both those guys had really good series against UIC. So I think there might be a correlation between our podcast and Arkansas baseball having success.
They're probably listening and they're like, well, if they're calling us out on the podcast, we got to start performing.
Exactly. I know. And we said maybe we should just have Dave Van Horn on the podcast and then the whole team would do good. So, but those guys, I know Michael Turner and Peyton Stovall, they both subscribe to HawgBeat.com. So maybe it's something with HawgBeat.com too.
Hey, who knows? I mean, there's some really great options to get Arkansas baseball coverage. So hope everyone out there also gives us a shot.
Okay. So let's talk Missouri. Have you looked into Missouri baseball very much yet? I mean, there's not really much to look into, if we're being honest.
No, I mean, I've kind of followed their scores throughout the season, and let's just be honest, they're probably the worst program in the SEC as far as baseball is concerned. I know Kentucky is probably up there, but they've at least had some decent moments here and there. Missouri just is not the same, and they haven't played an impressive schedule. I mean, they're 12-5, but they played series against Nicholls State, UL Monroe. They did go on the road for some of these because they are more northern than most of the SEC, so you have to hit the road early in the season. But Tarleton State, that's not going to make you shake in your boots. It's just not an impressive. And when they finally did play an impressive team like Vanderbilt last week, what happened? They lost 15-2, 6-0, 7-4. So they just aren't an impressive team, but they do have some good players. I mean, Dave Van Horn made a comment earlier this week, and he was like, "You can't take them lightly. You can't do what I just did and say, oh well, they suck, so we should just cruise on in there and beat them, because it is still the SEC, and if you don't show up, you're liable to get beat."
Have you ever been to Columbia before?
I have, not for baseball. I've been up there for a couple of basketball games and a couple of football games. It doesn't really seem like an SEC town. I've made this comment before. They seem more like a Big Ten team. I mean, just kind of geographically, they probably care more about academics than most SEC schools. It just has a Big Ten feel to it more than maybe an SEC feel.
I went to Columbia. I was in Columbia for a little bit a couple days ago, and I was telling Robert, this is just a garbage town. The campus was not that great. I didn't like the campus. I think of all the SEC towns I've been to, it's probably the worst. I've been to Lexington too. Lexington is bad. Knoxville, not a big fan of Knoxville either. I think Fayetteville, I mean, it always gets rated as one of the better towns, not only in the SEC, but around the country. And I think that is true. And I'm not really being biased about that. I think it's true. What do you think?
I think so. I mean, I'm extremely biased because I've lived in Northwest Arkansas my entire life. But I have gone and seen several campuses. I mean, I actually, speaking of going to Missouri, I actually visited Missouri while I was in high school as a potential place to go to college, because I'm a journalism guy. They got an incredible journalism program up there. But I went and checked it out, and it wasn't home for me. And so, yeah, it's not the same. I like Auburn. Auburn's a really cool town. And I know Starkville, gets a horrible reputation, Stark, Vegas or whatever, but man, their football environment is incredible. Ole Miss is a cool, like Oxford is a cool place, but yeah, Missouri, Columbia, man, it's just not the same as some of those other places. I mean, they do have, I do like going to Shakespeare's Pizza. Bob Holt with the Arkside Democrat Gazette would be remiss if I didn't mention Shakespeare's Pizza. I've got a really good friend of ours that lives and is going to school at Missouri right now, so we like to go up and visit him, my wife and I. So it's an okay place, but again, it's nothing really to write home about.
Okay. I'll take your word for that. I do think Bob Holt is probably a loyal listener of the Diamond Hogs podcast, so he'll appreciate that. A couple more things before I let you go. So Saturday's game against Missouri is one of Arkansas's games that will be actually on television. It's going to be on the SEC network, which why in the world would they pick this game? And you talked about it on this podcast preseason, how stupid it is. So I kind of want to just have you reiterate how dumb that is. And then also, this is the first time that we've had you on the podcast since the Round Rock Classic. And we said we need you to come on here and rant about FloBaseball. So here's your opportunity to do that. I know you're not really mad about it anymore, but I feel like you could still get it out there.
Yeah, FloBaseball is just terrible, especially for the price that they charge. I mean, $30 for just 1 month, which you have to buy 1 month for a weekend pass, essentially, to watch Arkansas play. The product was terrible. I let them know that both on Twitter and in the when you cancel, they ask for give us your feedback while you're canceling. Well, I don't know if you really want that, but it's really frustrating that plus Arkansas. I have a hard time complaining about Arkansas doesn't have enough games on TV or whatever, but when you really look at it, you can watch every SEC game because they're all on SEC Plus. Some people struggle with figuring that out, but again, it's 2022. Get a smart TV, get an Apple TV, get whatever, and figure it out. You can watch all these games. But if you look at the actual real TV schedule and you look at how many games Arkansas has on there compared to other schools, it is a little bit ridiculous. And the fact that one of Arkansas's game is Arkansas, Missouri, oh, Lord, you can't tell me there's not better games going on in the SEC this weekend. It's ridiculous. And I think the worst thing, I think I ranted about this a few weeks ago when y'all had me on, they have Ole Miss, Auburn, Alabama, the Iron Bowl of baseball, two not great baseball programs. They got them on national television twice the same weekend. Arkansas and Vanderbilt, arguably two of the best teams in the SEC, are playing that weekend. They don't have any of those games on real TV. So I don't know who's making these decisions. Whoever it is not very intelligent based on what I've seen. But hey, it's whatever. At least we can watch it. I tell people all the time, when Brady Toops hit his grand slam that beat Wichita State in the 2004 regional, I was listening to that on the radio because there was no way to watch it on TV. So, 18 years ago, not being able to watch a massive game in the postseason on TV to now being able to watch basically every game, it's really hard to complain if you really look at it that way.
Well, people are always going to find a way to complain, but they're usually your older audience who just refuse to adapt. So that's okay. Cause I mean, like you said, we can all watch the games. And if you understand how a TV works or your phone, you can watch it on your phone too. The bad thing is that the ESPN app is probably the worst app ever. I mean, like, do you have trouble with the ESPN app like I do?
It's really frustrating. Like the design is just infuriating. Like you're wanting to find the arc because I don't have an actual cable subscription. I just have the app. That's how I watch everything, whether it's on, SEC Network, ESPN. Shout out to my parents for letting me use their login information, but don't tell anybody. So it doesn't really change whether it's on SEC Network Plus or regular SEC Network for me. But whenever I'm trying to find the SEC Network game, I have to scroll through all these ESPN Plus games. Like, I don't care about Morehead State versus McNeese. I don't care about whatever lacrosse game going on that's on ESPN Plus. Put your SEC Network up there with your ESPN, ESPN2 options there at the very beginning. Very frustrating, but again, that's a first world problem. And at least we have the option.
Well, you can scroll down either to the SEC Network channel or just go in the search bar and type in whatever you want to watch.
Yeah, and that's sometimes I'll do that. I'll go to like the college baseball option and click on that, and then it's usually relatively easy to find. But it should be just right there. It should recognize, like, they track all of your stuff. Like, they know, okay, this guy watches a lot of Arkansas sports. Let's have that as the first option as a convenience thing. But that's just not how they do it. I don't know why.
I agree with that. If you have Arkansas as like one of your favorite teams on the app, then it should show up if they're playing when you go to watch. But no, I agree. I think that's a good point. Last thing, this is a little weird, but Robert would be upset if I did not ask you to do this. Can you just give us a nice, yeah, Dave?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Dave, can you tell me about how you thought Connor Nolan has pitched so far this season? Seems like he's been pretty consistent for you.
There you go. That's exactly what we needed. That's it. That's an inside joke. I don't know if we've talked about that on the podcast, but Hutch always says, yeah, before he asks a question on a press conference. So go back and watch all the press conferences.
I've been more conscious of that lately. I've been trying to improve.
It's not a bad thing. Like I told you, it's not a bad thing. It's an observation that was made. But you can watch all of the press conferences where Hutch says that on the HawgBeat YouTube, which is where you can also watch this podcast. You want to like tell people about deals over at HawgBeat.com? Tell them about the student deal.
Yeah, if you are a college student anywhere in the country, not just University of Arkansas, I guess anywhere in the world, but if you've got a .edu email address with your college, send me an email at andrewhutchinson413, and I can hook you up with your andrewhutchinson413 at gmail.com, I should say. And I will hook you up with a year of HawgBeat for just $11.95. It's usually about $100, but you can subscribe for your first year for just under $12 if you email me, and I can hook you up with that deal.
All right. Well, Hutch, thank you for your time. Always great to talk to you, and we will probably talk to you later on in the season.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
All right. See you.
You're listening to the Diamond Hogs podcast with Mason Choate and Robert Stewart.
Big thanks to Andrew Hutchinson. Always fun talking to him because he's the best. He is the best that does it. He's better than you, Robert. He's better than myself. And I don't think that that's like a bad thing to say. I think it's good because he's good at what he does.
Yeah, it's not a knock on anybody. It's just he's very good at what he does.
He is. And he was brought to you by the Encore Group. We're big fans of the Encore Group here on the Diamond Hogs podcast because when it comes to selling your home, you need representation that will knock it out of the park. Not only are they knocking out of the park as far as like representing you in your home, they're knocking out of the park and writing ad reads for a baseball podcast. They do that better than anybody.
That's for sure.
Matt Grissom and the Encore Group at Remax Elite, they will go to bat for you. Another line for baseball. Are you kidding me? With 14 years of experience and experts in marketing and negotiating, the Encore Group will get you the most amount of money for your home in the shortest amount of time. Don't risk it when it comes to selling real estate in Arkansas. For more information, visit sellingarkansas.com. The Encore Group, they're in the central Arkansas area. And I'll tell you what, that's a growing area. I'm from Conway, and Conway has grown so much, not just since I was born, but since I've moved to Fayetteville. It's just crazy. So a lot of people trying to get out of the Little Rock area. A lot of people trying to get out of other states and move to a more chill state like Arkansas. And if you're trying to do that, call the Encore Group. Matt Grissom and his team, I mean, they're just awesome. So visit them at sellingarkansas.com. You will not be disappointed. Thank you to the Encore Group for sponsoring Andrew Hutchinson. Okay, Robert, I guess we got another ad read, right? Yeah.
Yes, tell the good folks about our new friends, Barley and Vine.
Barley and Vine. I will not get tired of talking about Barley and Vine because I'm excited to go there. I talked about the First Seat Pub and Grill before I went there, and I talked it up, and I didn't talk it up enough because the food was just amazing. The drinks were amazing, but Barley and Vine, I got to go there too. I mean, I'm looking at their Instagram page. They had a St. Patrick's Day pub crawl, They'll put the baseball game on TV. They've got a ton of wine. They got a ton of beer on tap. The shuffleboard looks awesome. I'm a big shuffleboard fan. I don't know why I was thinking like your run of the mill retirement home shuffleboard, but this looks like a fun shuffleboard. And I'm ready to go there with you, Robert. Get us a drink because we are officially 21 years old.
Yes, we are.
Sorry, I had to cough. Okay, Barley and Vine. Go see them. Like I said, they have 32 beers on tap. That's a lot of beers. And we missed out on 21 years worth of beer, so we got to catch up, buddy.
Yes, we do.
So maybe not all in one night though. That I don't know if that would be a good idea.
We can take multiple trips.
Yeah. So go visit them, 113 West Central Avenue, Suite 103 in downtown Bentonville, or call them 479-268-4806. How did your ad reads go on the episode when I wasn't there? I listened, but I was really busy.
I think they were good. I mean, you're a lot better at riffing and ad-libbing than I am, but it went pretty well. Okay,
I'm proud of you and Pete.
It was easy to talk up the first seat, I mean.
Yeah. Dude, literally, I'm not saying this because they gave us money and because they sponsored our show. I'm saying this because it was actually genuinely really good food. The burger was awesome. I got the Jack the Ripper. The cheese curds.
Did you get the cheese curds?
I got the cheese curds. Not only did I get the cheese curds, Robert. Not only did I get the cheese curds, I put the cheese curds on my burger.
Wow.
And it was magical. It was amazing. It's not a big bar. It wasn't loud. It's just a nice little homey feel. They got TVs all around. The bathrooms are clean. Like that's one thing about a bar is if the bathroom is clean, then you're already calling my name. Because if you have a dirty bathroom, I really don't want to be there. I just feel gross. So yeah, the first seat, they don't even sponsor us anymore and we're talking them up. But yeah, go visit. It's the same owners, so it counts. The same owners who own the first seat own Barley and Vine. So go visit them as well. Anyways, Arkansas plays Missouri this weekend in Columbia. If I were you, I wouldn't make the trip. Like I said, Columbia, garbage town. Unless you're that passionate about Razorback baseball that you would go to a town like Columbia, then go ahead. And if you're going, make sure that you get there on time. First game on Friday starts at 6. Saturday it's at 2. And Sunday is at 1 o'clock there at Taylor Stadium in Columbia, Missouri. All can be streamed. Oh, wait, no. Saturday's game is on the SEC Network.
On Real TV.
Real TV. Why would they choose this one? None of the Vanderbilt games are on SEC Network.
as Hutch said the last time we had him on. Good Lord.
Yeah. We haven't recorded the interview with Andrew Hutchinson. Spoiler alert, like secret time, we haven't done it yet. We're actually doing the ending before we record the interview, but we'll definitely have to ask him about that. So you can time travel. So
power of editing.
You're time traveling backwards after listening to the interview, which was forwards, which we haven't even done yet.
Ooh.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Anyways, Robert, you have anything else to add before we get rid of this and go get on with the rest of our days?
Razorback baseball, 6 o'clock Friday. I'm ready for it.
Yeah. So Hogs, I mean, they're 16-3. Remember when we were talking about this team, like they're struggling, we don't know how we feel, and people were saying this team's not even gonna make it out of the regional. Now here they are, a week into SEC play. They're 16-3. I would be shocked if they don't win the series against Missouri. I wouldn't be surprised if they sweep Missouri.
I feel like an Arkansas sweep this weekend is probably the most likely outcome.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like we predicted sweep a lot last year, and it was like
it was always 2-1.
Yeah, they won 2 out of 3 like every time. So I'm not predicting a sweep because that means they're probably going to lose a game. Anyway,
it'll be okay if they lose a game.
Yeah,
they're probably due for a loss. 11 wins in a row. That's a lot.
It is. It's crazy to think they've won 11 in a row, man. Anyways, like I said, Arkansas, Missouri this weekend. If you want, go watch the game at Barley and Vine. Not even if you want, you need to go watch it at Barley and Vine. If you don't go watch it at Barley and Vine, you are not a fan of Razorback baseball. I'm just saying that. am saying if you don't go watch the game at Barley and Vine, not only are you not a fan of Razorback Baseball, you hate Razorback Baseball, you hate the Diamond Hogs podcast, and you hate the University of Arkansas, which we are not affiliated with.
No, we are not affiliated with them.
Okay.
That's pretty hateful. You're feeling hateful today, aren't you? You had a lot of negativity for Columbia, Missouri.
I'm just not in a good mood because as soon as we're done with this, I got to go to a car dealership and probably buy a new car.
Well,
speaking of car dealerships, still haven't got a car dealership sponsorship yet. I've had people reach out to me about it, but if you're a car dealer out there, hit me up. I need a new car.
One more shameless plug for the road.
Yeah. So we'll end it on that note. Thank you, Robert, for zooming in from Virginia. How is it in Virginia?
It's a little rainy here today, but it's good. Got to see a hockey game last night. Get to see another one this weekend. I'm trying to decide if maybe I should go see a college game, maybe George Washington or George Mason while I'm in town, but definitely be watching the Razorbacks this weekend.
Would you say you're more of a hockey guy or a baseball guy?
I mean, from a work perspective, definitely baseball, but I think I've never had more fun as a sports fan than when I am actively rooting for a hockey team.
That's okay. I can deal with that because I'm more of a football guy than I am a baseball guy, to be honest with you. But doesn't mean I don't love baseball. It's hard, when you're like a sports fan, it's hard to choose one. It's just there's seasons for a reason,
I hate the question, what's your favorite sport? I like all of them.
Exactly. Everybody, I keep getting asked, not like keep, but as a sports guy, everybody's always going to ask you sports questions because they're like, well, that's what they want to talk about. And so you always get the question, do you prefer football, baseball, or basketball? It's like, I don't know. If it's football season, I'm watching football. If it's basketball season, I'm watching basketball. If it's baseball season, I'm watching baseball.
It depends on the season. That's really all there is to it.
But there is that overlap where you have football, basketball, and then you have the overlap of basketball, baseball. And at that point, it really depends, at least in our shoes, which one matters more for work. And right now, baseball matters more for work than basketball. No offense to the Razorback basketball team.
Yeah, I missed a good chunks of both basketball games Thursday because I was trying to upload the podcast while you were gone, and then I was sort of panicking. It wasn't going well, but we got it out. That was good. And then Saturday, they were playing baseball at Baum Walker, and we didn't even mention the chirps that John Williams threw out at Kentucky for getting bounced in the first round. That was pretty funny.
I saw all that. You got some clout on Twitter for that. Congratulations.
I did. Thank you.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, you finally appreciate the value that I bring to this podcast.
Oh yeah, 100%. You are more saintly than I knew before.
Yeah. I mean, how many times did I tell you? Okay, so like more secret time, Robert and I are having to bring on an extra person to the podcast to get some extra help. And Robert was like on the fence. He was like, I don't know. Do we really need that? And now you understand why we need.
It takes a good chunk of time to get this file on YouTube.
It does.
We'll just leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. And we'll leave the show at that because we got to run. So thank you guys for listening to the Diamond Hogs podcast. Go watch the baseball games at Barley and Vine, and we will talk to you Monday.
You've been listening to the Diamond Hogs podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Choate Mason and at drstew32.